Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, of course, and today I have a great guest. I have Chef Andy Husbands on. He is a restaurateur, cookbook author, and barbecue pitmaster. I'll be right back with Chef Andy Husbands.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Hey all, it's Darren. I want to talk to you about Fire and Water Cooking Edible Creations. We've got a new product line that we're launching here on our website at fireandwatercooking.com, and you can check out our all new rub blends. And we make these from scratch, including our very own blueberry and black garlic seasoning. We're also selling the Black Garlic Company's black garlic powder and also their cloves and garlic salt. Also, we have some freeze-dried fruit, all different kinds, all fresh picked and then freeze-dried. And also we're doing freeze-dried candy, gummy nerds, Skittles, the sour Skittles, all kinds of freeze-dried candy. If you haven't had freeze-dried candy, you're missing out. It's very unique and special. We're also doing freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches, and mochi ice cream. So if you haven't had any freeze-dried ice cream, go ahead and check it out. fireandwatercooking.com and check out the store. Welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I am Darren. I'm your host, of course. And today I've got a really great guest. I have a award-winning chef, author, restaurateur, Mr. Andy Husbands. He's got a lot of experience and he's done a lot in his career. So we're going to talk to Andy. And Andy, welcome to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Let us know a little bit about you.
My pleasure. Nice to see you. My name is Andy Husbands. I am the owner, pitmaster of the Smoke Shop Barbecue. We have 5 locations here in the Boston area, building our 6th one as we speak. And we just awarded Boston Magazine's Best Barbecue 4 years in a row. So pretty excited about that. And here we are.
Well, great. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, I've looked you up. Actually, I found you. I've probably seen you on TV and some other stuff, and just really didn't put the face to the name. But I've actually had an ad come up in my AARP magazine, believe it or not, where you're teaching some kind of class through AARP. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I've already done it. You can see it. It has been recorded in their digital library. Yeah, I did kind of a live cooking class on live fire cooking, focused on burgers mainly. It's cool class.
Well, that's kind of how I saw that, and it intrigued me. And then I kind of looked into your history, and I said, "Hey, I kind of know this guy. I've seen him around." and so I said, "I really like to get him on the podcast so we can kind of talk about it, because you got a kind of a unique career." And I've had other famous chefs on here before, like Kenji and some of the others, and Stephen Reichlin. And I always like to go back into how they got into this business, because it can be kind of crazy and different than what most people are used to, definitely. So from what I read about your history, you started off at a part-time job baking and when you were in school, and I kind of started out the same way. I had a part-time job working in a restaurant. So I mean, I think a lot of people get started that way. So let's walk through how you got started.
Yeah. So in retrospect, I've always cooked. In 4th grade, I did a demo. You had to do a how-to. Some guys did how to throw a football, how to sew, I think was in the class in 4th grade a long time ago. I did how to make donuts. I was making donuts in 4th grade by myself out of the Joy of Cooking cookbook, one cookbook we had at our house. And, since I remember, I've always been fascinated with cooking and food. So you said when I was in school, let's be clear, I was 14 years old. I was in high school when I got that bakery job, and then worked in other restaurants, a notable restaurant called the Pillar House when I was a senior. That's in Boston. It's not around anymore, but a very famous old restaurant I worked at. Went to culinary school. I don't know how deep and how long you want me to talk, but there's I think a couple reasons. I really enjoyed making people happy. I think that in retrospect, I loved seeing people, being good at something and seeing people's reactions to the food I made. I also liked, because I'm a child of the 70s, so latchkey kid, right? not a lot of adult supervision. And I think I really wanted some like structure. And I think that's one of the things that called me to this business is I liked, the structure of a kitchen, the family atmosphere, the mentoring, like all that stuff I think I was craving. And I happen to find it in kitchens. And I love that high energy, Saturday night, pumping it out kind of stuff. And I was really good at it. So that was nice too.
Yeah, I really understand where you're coming from, because I was a child of the 70s myself, and I started out, kind of with my mom, kind of looking over her shoulder, but then again, she had to work, to bring in some money for the family. So when she wasn't there, I kind of remembered what she kind of did, and I kind of cooked for myself. And so that's how I got into it. And then I started, like I said, part-time job, working at a restaurant, and the same thing, cooking was always comfort to me. I like to cook. I like to eat. I like to cook something and have other people like it and say, hey, this is great. So you get that, you get that positive reassurance back. So I think that's one of the things you can get out of cooking, but definitely there's a lot of positives in it as well. So you went you got into culinary school. Like you said, you went to Johnson and Wales, I guess, and then graduated from there. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. So after you got out of culinary school, you kind of worked at a restaurant locally for a while, and then you kind of went on a cross-country trip and worked at various different places.
Sure.
And then you came home. So let's talk a little bit about that. Not to go into the details of that, but just what was your experience on that?
Well, I mean,
because restaurants are the kind of a job you can actually do that with. You can actually find a job pretty much anywhere and work pretty much anywhere in a restaurant.
Well, you kind of broad stroked a little bit, so I'll back up just a little bit. I had worked all through school, all through college, summers on Block Island, beautiful place right off of Rhode Island. I was working, gosh, it's funny, I just did the math, and I was getting paid $300 a week to work about 70 to 80 hours. It comes out to be like $6 an hour. Like, and people be like, oh my God, I had the best time ever. And when you work that much, you learn so much. I know people are really into like work-life balance. That's cool. You want to do that, that's fine. But it takes a certain amount of time to learn something. So however long you want to take, let's just say something takes you 100 hours to learn that one thing. Well, you want to do it in a week, or you want to do it in 2 weeks, or you want to do it over a year. Your choice. So for me, I went insane and went nuts. Got out of college, and I worked for a guy named Chris Schlesinger. And this is what I wanted to kind of really dig in a little bit. Is he's my mentor. He wrote Thrill of the Grill. This guy is just he taught me not only how to be a good chef, but he taught me how to be a good man. Taught me how to be a good leader. Taught me how to be a good teammate. All those things I needed to learn. And wow, what a great learning experience I had there for like 3 or 4 years. I also worked my took us off. I worked so much. And when I was done, and I gave him, I don't know, a year notice. I'm like, I'm going to go and I'm going to travel for a little bit. And he's like, great. And I went out to Santa Fe, had my motorcycle shipped out there, went to Santa Fe, and I had networked to a woman named Elizabeth Berry. If you've ever seen the Mark Miller chili pepper posters, she's the one that grew those. So I worked on her farm. I think originally it was a 2-month contract, and they asked me to stay for 2 months more. They didn't actually expect me to stay for a week. But it's brutal. Working on a farm is pretty intense, but I loved it. It was nice to be out of the kitchen, being outside. Mainly I dug ditches and filled them up again. It's kind of threw bales of hay, but it was nice to be working with food, yet to be out of the kitchen for a while. Rode my motorcycle to San Francisco. I worked in several restaurants out there, kind of staging, a little bit paid, a little bit not, just really just kind of trying to figure out where I wanted to go and keep myself busy and just learn some more. So much to learn in the culinary business. I got called back to maybe open a restaurant. That deal fell through. Came back to Boston, but I partnered with my best friend, and we ended up opening a restaurant that I ended up owning for 21 years, called Tremont 647.
Now, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, because after you graduated from culinary school, it was only within 4 years that you opened up your first restaurant. And that's kind of a short period of time to go from a culinary school graduate to actually starting your own fine dining restaurant. I mean, you could open anybody could open a sandwich shop, I guess, but to open a fine dining restaurant, it takes a lot of different skills, not just how to cook. You got to learn how to run a restaurant, So how was that? How was that? Did you learn enough in your 4 years?
No, absolutely not. You don't know what you don't know until you realize it.
Right.
I've always been somewhat arrogant, cocky. I ran that restaurant with arrogance, cockiness, creativity, and bourbon. I mean, I was out of my mind. And I definitely made lots of mistakes. I'm certainly a different person than I was then. I really had to learn how to even be a better team leader and how to build teams. It's something that I really like to do. And even be a better chef. I knew a lot, but I didn't know enough. And so a lot of trial and error. I made lots of mistakes, but I don't regret any of it. Sure, if I knew what I knew now, I would have done it later in life, but it is what it is. And
sometimes trial by fire is the best trial you can have.
And I just want to tell you, I've had some great people around me, really, really talented people around me. I mean, cooks, I mean, mentors, I mean, lawyers, accountants. So I've had a team around me, which has just been great throughout my life, who's helped me kind of find my bearings and go the right way. So, and now I feel like I'm hitting my stride, which is just awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you're opening, your 5th restaurant, I guess it sounds like you got something figured out. Six. There you go. So after you started your restaurant and you got going a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about this. I don't want to dwell too much on it, but you were on Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, season 6. And I watched a little bit of that episode and I remember you in that episode, but I've talked to several people that were on these similar type shows on Chopped or the barbecue shows and stuff. And they're totally different from what we see on our side than what you guys go through. So how was that? And what did you learn from that experience dealing with Gordon Ramsay and all that kind of stuff and just being on a television show?
Well, one of the things that's interesting about me, we just did a whole team building thing with our executive team here, and I'm a logistician, so I like logic, which means I like truth.
Me
logic
too.
And truth, and that show is meant to be entertaining,
right?
So when no chef in their right mind would ever close down their restaurant, and I certainly don't, and you don't treat people like that. So what did I learn? I learned I didn't like that show. I learned that they lie and they cheat, and it wasn't really about cooking. It just wasn't. And I was disappointed that it wasn't about cooking, and I was disappointed I didn't learn anything about food. Certainly, learned some stuff about myself. That's kind of fun, and it was definitely interesting. But probably, I'm glad I did it, but I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, I've always looked at those type of shows as you're not seeing the whole picture. Much of this stuff is made up, how much of it is garbage, how much of it with Chopped, how much of it do they know beforehand what's in the basket? Because you can't just throw some stuff at that and expect them to cook it in 30 minutes.
No, Chopped is real in that regard. So you don't know what's in the basket. Where Chopped fails, in my opinion, is it's about the story.
Right.
So let's just say you're really bland or you don't have a really good story. They want someone who's going to people are going to root for. And so that's what they're doing. And same thing with Hell's Kitchen. They're kind of writing the story as it happens. So, in Hell's Kitchen, they would, in a kitchen where you have a 2-cup container of salt that's kind of sitting there and that's what you use on your station.
Yeah.
That's that 2-cup container will magically turn into sugar. Or, they use French flat tops, how they're like thick iron that get hot. Mm-hmm. First cook turns them on, last cook turns them off. Well, when you go break and take your lunch, your dinner break before you're going to have service, they turn them off. But you don't know they're off because it's such thick steel that you're so busy and not paying attention. And in a normal kitchen, nobody would ever turn them off. So that's why you see Ramsay yelling, "Oh, you're cooking. Your stoves aren't even on. You're an idiot." It's like, no, your team turned them off on us.
Yeah.
Same thing with friolators. They would turn off
They
the
set you up kind of much.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'll tell you that one time a team came and watched our restaurant, my old restaurant. They came in because they wanted to do a reality show about our restaurant. They sat there for a week, cameras, watched us, taped us. And they basically said, no, we're not going to do it. You guys are boring. And I'm like, exactly.
That's not like what we see on TV.
Bro, it's just not. We're not fighting it's just not, it's not like that.
Yeah, you're not going to hand you a script and go, here, why don't you guys fight or do something or throw food at each other? Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that, like I said, I see a lot of these shows and you just kind of think how much of this stuff is like real or how much of it is scripted or pushed, or like you said, when they kind of set you up to fail so that you got to dig your way out of it. They kind of make the story happen. So those are always interesting though. When I get somebody on there just to see what the backstory is.
Yeah.
So you started out, let's say you started out with the restaurant, fine dining restaurant. And I'm sorry, what the name of the restaurant again was?
It was called Tremont 647. And then next door was called Sister Sorrel. And that's named after my sister. It was like a bar.
Okay. So it was kind of a different menu items but kind of closely attached.
Yeah, it was next door. It was cocktail. It's a cocktail place.
Gotcha. And you had that for a long time. So I guess it was fairly successful. And then I guess during that period, you decided to get into barbecue, doing some competitions.
Not quite. Yes. Early on, though, in like 97, me and my buddy, my best friend, we created a barbecue team. We both called IQ, all capitals, IQUE. And we just did it on a lark. Competition barbecue, those don't know, it's like a weekend of golf, a competitive golf or competitive fishing. It's like there's a lot of laughing, a lot of cussing, a lot of bourbon, and a lot of competitions, right? And it's fun. It's really, really fun. And I think that was our weekend. So we would do that, in the beginning, maybe 3-4 times a year. When we started really getting serious, maybe 10-15 times a year. These are weekend-long events, traveling around the country. I can't remember, I'm bad with years, but at some point we were losing badly and we lost a lot. And we decided we didn't want to lose anymore. And then we started to practice more and we refined our techniques. And there's a bunch of different reasons why we got good. But I would say mainly it's like a race. You gotta practice your race if you want to do well, right? And we started dominating our region, the Northeast Barbecue Society, kind of that region. And then we started to get to the national stage, the Kansas City Royal, the Jack Daniels, and we qualified for Jack many years in a row. And I'm really shortening this story, but eventually in 2009, we became the first non-Southern team to win the World Championships in barbecue. No non-Southern team had ever done that, and we did it. So we got, and I also should say, I really want to point this out. I'm not the lead pitmaster on our team. That is Chris Hart. He's the Tom Brady. I'm like the Julian Edelman. It's a crazy thing to have done that, to climb that mountain. And actually that was our goal, was to win the World Championships. We also won first place in brisket in Kansas City out of 510 teams.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how different is competition barbecue than actually cooking for even in a restaurant or for your home? Let's say you're cooking for family at home. I've talked to many, famous barbecue people, and they always tell me it's totally different.
Yeah,
cooking for judges and cooking for people is different.
They're taking one bite. A judge is taking one bite. It's got to be the best bite they've ever had. Think of it like this: NASCAR. In that car you drive, you would never drive it on the main streets. A civilian would not be driving that on the main street. That's what competition barbecue is. It's also like the Lance Armstrong of barbecue. It's jacked full of stuff, just needled full of sulfates, nitrates, MSGs, all sorts of craziness. We don't cook like that here at the restaurant. I don't cook like that at home. You got to understand, the bite has to be this craziest bite. I actually happen to be practicing right now. I have a pit right over here that I'm practicing today for a competition this weekend. So I'm not even really using sulfates or nitrates, but it's just very complicated. It's a lot of different moves and a lot of different things. So back to that NASCAR, But some of that stuff that happens in NASCAR, be it the engine, be it the aerodynamics, it does trickle down into other. And so some of the tricks that I've learned, we do at the restaurant, and I would do at home. Again, none of those weird ingredients, but just there are things you learn, and also just by practicing, you get better and better at anything. You know.
So coming from a culinary background where you went to culinary school, going into the barbecue competitions, did you have like I know more than these, Bubba's here, cooking barbecue, because I've got all this culinary background. Did you go in with that type of attitude and then figure out real quick that, hey, maybe I don't know as much as I think I do? Or
yes, that quickly changed though. You quickly changed. We realized we were outclassed, and that was cool. Like we had fun. What I love about barbecue, this is a quote from or a paraphrase from Tuffy Stone. He's a great barbecue pitmaster.
Right.
He said, barbecue is the most friendliest cuisine out there. It's the food of family gatherings, celebrations, right? Graduations. And I just love that. Like I found where I just, I could feel, so I wanted to have this fancy restaurant, change the menu every week kind of restaurant. I had that. That was great. Toward the end though, I could feel myself being drawn towards something else. And I could think you could think of it like, musicians, they may not play the same type of music always. They may change. And I changed into really wanted to do barbecue. And I loved and adored the people I competed with and the people I've met. And it's just so casual and not in a negative way. It's just this thing where people come in and really, it's almost celebration every night. It's really cool. I love it.
And it's simple food and it can be so delicious. And then that's kind of what I want to talk about next, because you had the fine dining restaurant for so many years, yes. And now you've switched over. You actually sold those restaurants, and now you have just barbecue restaurants. You started out with the first smoke shop.
Yep.
When was that? In like
1996. So
you started out with the first one.
I'm sorry, 1996. That's the first one was 1996. My first restaurant was 2016.
So that's when you started out, and you still had your other restaurants going.
For a couple
when
years,
was it that you said, okay, I really love the smoke shop better. I want to put all my attention and focus into that?
2018. 2018. And we've opened up one a year pretty much since then.
Now, where do you expect to go with this? Are you going to try to, go nationwide or just focus on New England?
I don't know. I don't really try to expect too much anymore. We have such an amazing team here, and everybody's growing, so it's neat to see people grow and provide opportunities. So we're going to continue to grow. It's fun. It's a challenge, so I don't know where we're going to go. I'd like to be in an airport. That would be fun, I think, fun and interesting. I like the challenge. So maybe we're mainly in the Boston area. So I think we'd like to hit the suburbs and maybe look at other states. There's some really good barbecue out there. And I don't necessarily want to go and compete against these, other great barbecue. I don't think you need to do that. I think there's plenty of places available for us to go. So we'll see.
You don't want to open up next to Aaron Franklin's restaurant in, Austin. So,
well, my arrogance does. My arrogance makes me want to go do that. But no, he'd clobber us. He's so great.
Well, do you think that some of your success with these barbecue restaurants is the fact that you are in New England? You don't have a whole lot of mom and pop competition up there, or do you? I'm actually originally from upstate New York, and I know when I was growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of real barbecue. Our barbecue was just cooking over the grill. So,
well, I don't think anybody thought it could happen. Look, there's an Italian and a Chinese restaurant in every corner, right? But not barbecue. And I don't think people realized there was such a demand. And now they're seeing us open all these places and they're seeing the demand. No, but we have some good barbecue around here. BT's in Southern Mass, Fireflies in Marlboro, Mass, it's like Central Mass. Rusty Can up north. There's some good stuff around here. So Blue Ribbon, Red Bones. So I don't know. I don't know why we're so successful. I mean, I do. We're putting out some great food and really good teams. So, I don't know. It's been a great ride.
what's the main difference between having a classic, fine dining restaurant and a barbecue restaurant as far as running it? I mean, is there less food cost? Is it easier to put together? Or?
Food cost is higher because
really?
I always sell is meat. When you can sell pasta and rice, you're pretty good. The cheapest thing to sell is flour and water, right? So pasta and pizza, you're pretty good.
Well, as far as I'm thinking, though, is you have less menu items to deal with. You don't have a lot of restaurants nowadays. They think they got to cram 400 menu items on there to try to attract everybody. And, that's the biggest mistake I think restaurants make, is that if you just specialize in a few really good dishes or just mix it up and, change it out every once in a while, you don't have to carry all those different items and let them sit there and rot in your, walk-in fridge. So.
What's the difference? It's really about people. I got to tell you, we talk a lot about this, and I hate saying this as a chef, but hospitality trumps food. So it's really important to understand this. Great service, mediocre food, people will come back. Amazing food, crappy service, they'll be like, no, thank you. I will never go there again. A diner is a really good example. When you get that really great vibey diner experience, food's good. It's fine, right? It's a diner. Yeah. You're like, that was fun. We had a blast, right? Really, it's a people game. Yes, of course, it's about the recipe, and of course, it's about the how you cook it and how you process your food or whatever. But really, it's the hospitality, and something we really focus on is, we want to treat everybody like grandma. That's kind of our policy. Doesn't mean grandma's always right, but treat everybody like grandma. You can tell grandma to pump the brakes on the wine. It's okay. So.
Right. It's like going back to your Hell's Kitchen experience when you watch that show. And if I was somebody in that, as a customer in that restaurant, and I watched that going on, I would have no desire to ever eat in a restaurant where everybody's yelling at each other, throwing things and screaming and calling each other. Just every other word out of everybody's mouth is the F-bomb.
But what you got to realize, with those people that are in that restaurant are really people watching the TV show, right?
No, I know. Yeah, they're there for that. But as far as regular dining, that you definitely would not desire that type of restaurant for sure.
Nope.
So let's transition now. You're also a author. You've written a few books now as well. And,
Six.
Haven't written my own book. Not in that type of not as big as yours, of course. I've written my own book. I actually kind of found that it was really cathartic. Once I started writing it, I really just let it flow out, and I couldn't stop. And did you have that same kind of feeling on your first one? When you started writing it, you started just like, I'm trying to get this stuff out of my head and put it down on paper as fast as I can, or?
Yeah, but my first one was 200 recipes. It sold okay. It, maybe not the best contract I had. There were no pictures in it, so it did okay. But our next one, which sold really good, Wicked Good Barbecue, that has the recipes from how we won the world championships in it. Really cool. Wicked Good Burger sold okay. Grilled to Perfection sold okay, but then we released Pitmaster. Pitmaster is my best-selling book. If you don't have this book, you should have it. It is, it's about regional barbecue. We have a lot of guest pitmasters in there, like Sam Jones, your buddy Stephen Reichland's in there. Bill Durney from New York. If you haven't been to Bill Durney's place, he is, he owns Hometown Barbecue in Brooklyn. So all different pitmasters are kind of guests in there. And it's just that book, we like to say, look, I wrote a lot of good books, but it took me 5 books to write a really special book. Pitmaster is amazing. My last book, which I really love, which is called Backyard Barbecue. And it's kind of more about recipes that we do here and stuff. The problem with that book is, here's just a tip for you if you ever want to write another book. Don't write a book about like large parties and big gatherings right before a pandemic. It won't sell.
No, doesn't sound like it. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's sold.
definitely.
It's sold okay, but that's really
That's a recipe for disaster, I guess.
which I always thought would be a great name for a book. Recipe for a Disaster.
Well, there you go. That's your next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I just
I
found
love
when I
writing
did
books.
mine. Yeah.
Go ahead.
When I did mine, I had recipes in it, but it was more a process because it was mixing sous vide and barbecue. And I think we talked, you're not really a fan of sous vide, but that's fine. But I mean, just mixing two different methods and kind of going through a process was more spilling it out. The recipes can come and go. I mean, recipes are, they're fun to write, but the whole process was kind of interesting for me to put down on paper. And I just kind of, once I started doing it just kind of all flowed right out of my brain, right onto the paper. So it seems like you've given up on the fine dining cuisine restaurants. You're actually going to just, stick to the barbecue from now on.
Yeah. Let's say I've transitioned. I've already done that. You know what I mean? So I did that for 21 years. You try doing anything for 21 years. I just, I was good.
You get bored. Good.
Yeah, I was bored. The same building, 21 freaking years was too much. So I'm loving where I'm at now. And but who knows? There's other things I like to do and other things I cook. When I'm at home, I'm not cooking barbecue, cooking other stuff.
Right.
So, maybe I'll do something different in the future. Right now, and this is I don't imagine doing anything else right now. This is when I'm in, I'm in. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, well, I'm going to do this for a little bit and then something else. No, I'm like, I'm in. So let's I'm going to check this out and keep going with it. It's so much fun, so much a challenge. What is that? Is that a freeze dryer behind you? Is that what that thing is?
Yeah. It's a freeze dryer.
Yeah, I
got lots of toys. I like to play with stuff.
No,
they'll come and go. I'll get different grills and different things. That's kind of why I mix sous vide and barbecue. I like experimenting and playing with different stuff. So I always get drive my wife crazy. So yeah. I got 4 or 5 different grills on my patio, and then I switch them out every once in a while.
Nice. Yeah, I've got about eight. I have about 8 barbecue pits. Yeah, no, I'm not crazy about sous vide. I don't enjoy cooking things in plastic. I think that's kind of a weird thing for me. I can't get my mind around it.
Well, did you ever use any combi ovens in your restaurants at all?
No. We use CVAPs.
Yeah, your CVAPs. So you hold your food in that.
Yeah, but I know where you're going. It's just not, and I like it. The plastic thing gets me a little goofed up. It really does.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you, like I remember eating at French Laundry in 2000 and 2001, and he had sous vide this foie gras with mint. Freaking amazing. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying, it's just like I really like kind of an old school approach of cooking food, right? And so that's what I really like. I love the process and again how I was trained. But hell, if I maybe was 20 years younger, maybe I would have been trained a different way and gone that route. It's just for me, it's not really. I mean, one of the cool things I love when I see my buddy cater, and he'll just like bring out bags of short ribs and snip them open, and there they go, right?
Well, I get it. It's not only that. And when I talked to Stephen Reichland, he's all down. He can't come off of the live fire cooking. He can't go anywhere near, and he can't cook in a regular oven anymore. It's always got to be over, some kind of open fire. But the thing I liked about it is I could take a brisket and I could cook it sous vide medium rare and then stick it on the smoker and still get some smoke and then have a medium rare tender brisket. So that's the kind of things when you mix them, you can do some things like that. So it's not just like it's better or it makes a superior product. It just makes something totally different. You couldn't make either way. So
to me, that's what I would call a triple Lindy. Do you know what a triple Lindy is?
Yeah.
Triple Lindy is when Roddy Dangerfield jumped from one board to another board to another board into the water. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just going off the board into the water. I don't need all those other steps. No triple Lindy for me. Yeah.
and there's everybody's different. Everybody likes doing different things. I always leave that open. There's all kinds of room for everybody in different cooking methods and all kinds of equipment as well. There's people that only want to cook in stainless steel pans. So I mean, I'm not going to argue that point at all. So. Like I said, so you're pretty much. Do you get to do much of your competition barbecue anymore since you're getting so busy? I know during the pandemic, how did that affect your restaurants as well?
Well, I'll answer your first question. I'm competing this weekend, but I don't really want to. We don't really compete that much anymore. We're kind of,
Right.
our team. Look, we all got other things going on. We competed for something like 18 years, right? So we're good. Like we won the world
You
championships.
did that, yeah.
We
It's like
we
your
did all right.
restaurant, yeah.
Yeah. So like we all have other passions now. So but we're going to compete this weekend. That'll be fun, and that's why I'm practicing today. The pandemic was interesting. This is a weird position. I'm going to tell you that I'm not making light of death or people's sickness or how scary it was. It was all those things, and that's awful. But for us, to have the opportunity to work with a really cool team to solve some really complex problems that deal with safety and life-threatening issues and come out at the end stronger and better is really cool. So we have a really great team, and it was hard, it was scary, it was challenging, but it was fun, right? Like it's fun to do those things, even though I'm not making light of all those other things. So we,
Right.
So
It's a learning experience, and
yeah, it's cool. It's cool when you work with a group of people and solve a complex problem. That is fun when you do it together. And so it just made me more and more appreciate the people around me, because we had
right.
the one thing I want to make sure everybody knows is when we did shut down, we had 200 employees, and everybody stayed in touch with their team members. And what we quickly heard from our general managers is we had a total of about 50 people who couldn't collect unemployment. For whatever reason, it didn't matter to me. We knew that we had 50 people that were part of our family that could not feed themselves, who could not feed their families, and could not pay rent. We quickly went into the restaurants. Me and a couple of people, we put up stuff on Instagram and emails and said, we're going to be selling barbecue boxes. And we just, pulled everything. We had frozen all our meats, all our raw meats, frozen them, pulled them out, started cooking. And every week for like a month and a half straight, we just raised to say like about $20,000, $30,000, and kept a little money for seed money for the next week, and and the rest of that money we just gave it to our employees and just said, here. Yeah, and it was cool. It's like it wasn't about making money. It wasn't about any of that. It was just about really trying to take care of our team members. And then when we got that first round of PPP, again, we just wanted to right the ship. The ship was moving all over the place. Just wanted to get it going straight. We paid everybody. We paid them all. And we just said, some of them we knew would never come back. But we knew they didn't have jobs. We knew they had families.
Right.
That's what when I talk to you about about the people, that's what it's about, right? Taking care of each other. So, by the time the second round of PPP, we were on our feet. We were going good. Yeah, it's been challenging, and but we've learned a lot. So here we are.
Now you're growing,
right?
So you're opening your 6th restaurant. So it's got to
be. I opened one during the pandemic.
That's crazy. Well, do you think it would have been different if you still had your other fine dining restaurant open because you closed that before the pandemic hit?
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. I mean, that was in the South End. So in my fantasy world, I would have been doing a ton of to-go, and just kind of like maybe meatloaf and just doing stuff that making, because people needed food, and they wanted experiences, and they were sick of being home. So it was such a cool neighborhood. I think it'd have been fun just to be cooking for everybody, pull them and ask them what they want. What do you want? Lasagna? Sure. Whatever it is, some of the fancier stuff you can't travel, but someone, I can cook all sorts of stuff. So, in my fantasy world, but, it is what it is, and we're here. So it's all good.
Well, all right. Well, what's next for Andy? Is it just continue to sink your talents into the smoke shop and expand that a little bit more? I mean, you got anything else that you're looking at down the road, or just playing it day by day?
I mean, I have lots of fantasies, and we'll see what happens. I do have 4-year-old twin daughters and an awesome wife. So as much time as I can get with them is important to me. So that, and watching them grow and being a good dad, that's really important to me. And growing my business right now. That's what, maybe another book. Chris Hart and I, we're thinking about writing another book. Maybe we'll see. I really want to have something important to say. I don't want to write a book just to write a book.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to write a book because I got
something you care about, something you can put your passion into.
And there's some stuff, I'm not going to let you know what it is, but there's some ideas that we're noodling right now that we think is pretty good. The question is, does anybody else care about that? but we have ideas, so we'll see. I don't know, man. We'll see. Just enjoy. That's what I want to do.
Well, I look forward to watching you. I'm going to put a link to your website below,
Thank you.
andyhusbands.com, and everybody can find your cookbooks there, your restaurants, all your different appearances and all that kind of stuff that you're doing. So I'll link that in the description and all that, so people can find you. andyhusbands.com, guys, if you want to find that out. And anything Andy's doing, it's on there. So definitely want to thank you for being on.
Yeah, I just want to say also the smokeshopbarbecue.com. Check out the restaurant.
Now, can they order you mail order briskets like Franklin's doing now, or no?
No. Well, we'll leave that to him. We may someday. Right now, I mean, you can get our barbecue sauces, our spice rubs, all online, but signed cookbooks, those kind of things. But no, we're not doing meats yet. Maybe one day. Maybe that'll be a project for me.
Maybe that's your next project. There you go.
Yeah, I'll get right on it.
Well, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Check out andyhusbands.com. You can check out anything that Andy's doing right now and what he's been doing in the past. But thank you. I really appreciate for you guys being on, and enjoy your beautiful Boston day out there. Looks really nice out there today.
Great day. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks for joining us again today, guys, on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Make sure you follow Andy at andyhusbands.com. You can check out his books, restaurants, all that Andy's got going on there. Make sure you check out Fire and Water Cooking on Facebook, Instagram. Check out the Fire and Water Cooking YouTube channel as well. And I'll see you guys again on the next Fire and Water Cooking Podcast.